Yeah, can go.
Okay. Good morning. Welcome to Barefoot Law's live session today. We shall be with you, and our topic of the day is parental responsibility. But before we dive deeper into that, we are going to first introduce ourselves. My name is Akanishka Precious. I am a lawyer at Barefoot Law, and I will let my colleague introduce himself also.
All right, thank you so much, Precious, and I'm really glad to be doing this with you. My name is Maxwell Ochaya, and looking forward to this discussion. It's a topic that, it's of so much interest to so many people in Uganda today, because, these are issues that involve children, and we all know what the law says when it comes to the best interest of a child, right? So I'm so much looking forward to this discussion, and thank you for everyone for joining us. You're so much welcome, and yeah, let's get this going.
Yes. Thank you so much, Maxwell, for introducing yourself. And I welcome everyone on the live. Thank you for joining us today. And I implore you to share the link with your friends, your workmates, everyone, because this is going to be a very engaging topic, something that concerns our well-being, our families, and we encourage you to share the link everywhere else so that everyone can join us and you learn a lot about parental responsibility. So yes, once again, we are glad to have here, and we are going to dive deep into our topic of the day. So like I said earlier, our topic today is parental responsibility. And Mr. Maxwell, can you tell us about parental responsibility, what it is, how do you think it operates under the law, who is a child and who is a parent within the ambits of the law?
Thank you so much. I think your question is quite broad, and we shall need to break it down into, different topics that we can discuss in all this. So, parental responsibility and, children's rights. But before we go further, who is a parent? Okay. And which law really governs all these responsibilities that we are talking about? A parent is basically someone who gives birth to a child or one who adopts a child. Okay. If you give birth to a child, the mother, the father, you are a parent of that child. Or if you, through uh, court processes, you adopt a child, you become a parent of that child, and all parental responsibilities of that child, from that moment on will fall on you. And these responsibilities are really broad, because this entirely entails you dealing with the rights of the child, the best interest of the child, having the influence over the child, and all other things that, a child would need to develop into a complete person, into a law-abiding citizen. Yes. So this basically defines who a parent is. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, Maxwell. And just like Maxwell explained, we have understood what it means to be a parent. And Maxwell, would you also want to tell us who a child is?
Yes, under the laws of Uganda, particularly the Constitution and the Children's Act, a child is defined as someone who is below 18 years. Okay, so if 0 to maybe 17.11, as long as you're below 18 years, you are a child, okay? And that is what the law defines you as. And you are under, you are subject to the Children's Act, which therefore means that, when your parent is exercising parental responsibilities over you, your best interest should always come first. But then I've mentioned the word best interest really about
Yes.
2 or 3 times. What does that particular word basically mean? You see, the best interest is something that is so broad, yeah. And I'll just give examples of a few, things that are considered to be in the best interest of a child. And these really do not go very far away because they are interrelated to, the rights of a child under the Children's Act and under the Constitution. So one thing that we know is if a child is born, it's in that child's best interest to live with the parents, right? because at the end of the day, the mother has to breastfeed, the father has to, help the mother take care of the child. As the child grows, they need to seek medical attention, medical help in case they're sick. They have to go to school. They have to live in a peaceful community where there's no harm to them. So all these factors could be considered to amount to the best interest of a child. And usually, when court is, if issues of parentage come into play and courts are determining, who is in the best position, particularly when it comes to maybe custody matters or anything related to a child, court will look at the best interest. And usually they'll have to see who is in the best position to, cater for this best interest of the child.
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe you can expound on that.
Thank you so much, Maxwell. Maxwell has really been emphatic about the best interest principle, and I think it's a good start for us. First of all, like Maxwell explained, basically Maxwell has helped us understand who a child is and who a parent is, and now we understand the characters or the people that we are going to be explaining their relationship with today. And like we said, the topic of the day is parental responsibility. And like Maxwell explained, I would like to emphasize it that parental responsibility has to do with everything concerning the child, be it the responsibility of the parent to make sure that the child's rights are respected, the child's demands, the duties of a parent, the powers of the parent, because we know that even as a parent under the law, you have some powers that accrue to you.
Yes,
so parental
definitely.
responsibility covers all that. So since we have explained that, Maxwell, I only find it wise that we go into the rights that are available for children so that we can use that as a foundation for parents to understand what are those responsibilities that they are supposed to ensure that they fulfill.
Definitely. And I really love where we are heading now, because things to do. Most parents in Uganda, or even I myself, before I attended law school, I used to struggle. If someone tells you I have a right, a child tells you I have a right, and for so long, people have misunderstood what these rights are. Yeah, because a kid might think that, because they have a right, therefore a parent has no duty to discipline them if they do something wrong. The parents must ask them what food you have to eat. Like they have to dictate, what food they eat in the house, where they should sleep, what kind of car they should use to take them to schools. All these are misconceptions that we for so long have been, with parents and guardians and, people who take care of children. But today we would love to, debunk some of these things that I would call them actually, misconceptions. So rights also come with responsibilities. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, rights do come with responsibilities. And I would implore the children, if you're a parent and you're watching this, please bring your child closer to you, because much as they have their rights, under the Children's Act and other laws of Uganda, they also have responsibilities, and the rights are really broad. Yeah. And one particular right that I would love to, go to is the right of the child to live with the parents. Okay. This is something that is so paramount to us today. And it's something that we are witnessing a lot today. Of a child is born, they are still so young, and the child is taken to stay with their grandparents, the child is taken to stay with an aunt, the child is, maybe the mother rents a home somewhere, puts in a maid, and the child is left to live with the maid. And the parents are, maybe due to economic reasons, they are staying somewhere far or they are working somewhere far. But under the law, when a child is born, it's their right to live with their parents and to know their parents. Okay. And this is something that cannot be taken away from a child. So if you are a parent and you are deliberately avoiding your child, yeah, then you're breaching the law. These days, we have seen cases of, single parents, right? Maybe the mother is living with the child and the father is nowhere to be seen. This action here breaches the law. If you're a father, to a child, it's your responsibility to be present in the life of this child. And if you try to avoid this responsibility, then you can be, held in breach of the law. So even if you have your your differences, it could be irreconcilable differences with the mother or with the father of this child, you have no business staying away from the life of this child. Okay. And we have also seen cases where maybe a child is born and the mother is like, okay, your father mistreated me, he will never see you, you will never see your father. You deny a child the right to know the other parent,
Yes, to be with their
to be with their parents.
Mm.
Here you're breaching the law, and what you're doing could actually land you in problems with the law. So even if you have had problems or differences with the other parent of this particular child, that is between you and that other person. You don't have to involve this particular child in it, because under the law you are breaching their right. The child has the right to know who the father is, who the mother is. So if you've been doing this, then it's really high time you changed it before the law catches up with you.
Yes, thank you so much, Maxwell. Actually, this has been a very common practice. All of us somewhere know someone who gave birth to a child and just dropped the child at their grandparents' house. But is that okay? So today I like the fact that Maxwell has elaborated everything concerning that. And parents, we continue to implore you to consider staying with your children, because the child has a right to live and grow up with their parents for their well-being. Maxwell, I'm going to talk about another right of children that I've always seen in the current times people violating. And one of those rights is a right to safety and privacy.
Yes.
Most of the time, I think everyone these days is on social media platforms engaging, and you see sometimes some people post children who are maybe even 1 year,
Yes,
some
definitely.
are 8 years, and their privacy is not considered at all. I actually recently saw a post on X where someone posted their child's report card and everything. So I would like to let you know, all parents, that it is your right as a parent, it is the right of a child rather, and your responsibility as a parent to make sure that the child's privacy is protected, because under the law they are also a human being, and it is not okay for you to keep subjecting them to the media, to every opportunity you get to put them in the public, and that should be looked into. Maxwell, as we go ahead, I think I would also want you
Maybe,
to...
Precious, before we depart from that particular right, I just want to throw some more emphasis on this.
Yes.
That, we earlier on talked about having the responsibilities, as a parent. We know this is your child, right? But this child, the moment you brought them into this world, they're already subject to laws. And some laws actually restrained you as a parent. There are certain things you cannot do legally to this child, and that is one of the things that you mentioned. People out of excitement, these days on X, you post the child.
Yes.
On TikTok, we have so many videos of children on TikTok these days.
With their names,
their report cards with their names.
attend.
You are actually infringing on the privacy of this particular child, and this is something that violates the law. So we cannot emphasize it more than that. But if you do that and the law catches up with you, then clearly you may not have a very valid defense to defend yourself.
Yes, thank you, Maxwell, for elaborating on that point. And I would also request you to explain to these viewers of ours what it means for a child to be protected from exploitation, especially economic exploitation, because we've seen a number of children on the streets doing work, yet they are below 18 and they are struggling. Is that okay under the law?
Definitely, that is not okay under the law. And I'll try and explain this actually in a broader term. Child exploitation, child labor, and all this. Under the law, what do this really mean? If you choose to give a child, or you choose to give a child to do a particular work that is way beyond their age, then this becomes child labor, which is actually wrong. Okay? We have seen families where children have become breadwinners. children have become breadwinners. Maybe a child has a talent, is good at singing, is good at dancing, or maybe drawing. And before you know, the entire family is depending. They have put, this financial obligation
On the
on
child.
the child. This is something that is not right. As a parent, the duty remains entirely on you to provide financially for this child. So if you choose to, you can support a child maybe in developing their talents. If your child is good at football, it's okay, support them. If your child is good at dancing, we've seen so many kids dancing on social media these days, it's okay, support them. But where the line is drawn is when the child becomes the breadwinner in the family. The financial burden starts falling squarely on them. And now you as a parent, you start relying on them or on their talent. This becomes economic exploitation, which definitely is not okay. And I think we have seen, so many communications, trying to advise parents really to desist from this kind of practice. And it's my advice as a lawyer that you heed to this piece of advice, so that you don't fall in contravention with the law. And for now, maybe just broadening this a little. Today, we have seen, or we have heard that, children begging on the streets has actually become a business. Of people go and put a child by the roadside as they monitor from afar. The child is begging, and the money that is given to the child, the family uses it, for daily survival. This is something that is really, 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 really wrong. Okay. And if you deliberately take a child to the street to beg money to support your family, then you don't deserve to be called a parent to this child, and this can easily land you into problems with the law. Thank you.
Well,
Precious.
thank you so much, Maxwell, for elaborating on that point. Really, if we are to talk about the rights of children, we could spend a whole day here, because there are so many rights of children under the law. But I like the fact that you emphasized on the right to protect the child from exploitation. Why? Because under the law, as a parent, you have the responsibility to maintain your child. That means to cater for them, provide for the basic needs, be it education. And that means that as a parent, you are supposed to be providing everything that is necessary for a child to have a good life that you can afford, of course.
Maybe, Precious, just one more thing that I would love to add is discrimination in families.
Yes.
Yeah. We know of families where maybe one child was adopted. Yeah. A parent could be having 3 kids, and maybe they adopted 1, and now they have 4. Okay. One thing we should all know is this, that when you choose to adopt a child, the responsibilities of that particular child lie squarely on you. And the law does not expect you to discriminate this particular child that you've adopted, from the others. The law requires you to treat them fairly and equally. I hope this is making sense. And also, any form of discrimination in the family, whether by third parties, it could be maids, could be house helps, could be fellow children, is strictly prohibited under the law. So if you choose to adopt a child, please treat that child as your own, because in the eyes of the law, they have become your own. The law will take that you gave birth to this particular child. So the responsibility squarely will fall on you. So you have to protect them in the same manner you would protect these other ones that you gave birth to. So I thought this was actually imminent and, paramount that we emphasize it.
Yes, that is actually interesting, because people need to understand the legal implication of adoption on someone. That the moment you wake up and say, I am going to adopt child X, that means that you have become the parent of that child and you hold the same legal implication like the biological parent of that child. In fact, when you adopt someone, the legal ties and the parental ties between the biological parents of that child and the child are broken, and it is you who becomes the new parent of that child. So that means that whatever rights accrue to a child, you are supposed to fulfill them as the new parents of that child. Maxwell, there are really other rights.
You know, there are really many. There are really many. But just
Yes.
one more.
Mm.
Do you know that we have children that the government really does not know about them? Like, people give birth and they don't register these children. So sometimes, you know, a child is born and the government does not know about them. They're not
Yes.
registered. Some children are born at home and life continues.
In fact, that's the life of most of the people in villages.
So, first of all, you should know that the government has to plan for this particular child.
Yes.
Right? And that's the reason why sometimes, why the government, why we do the population, the housing, the population census, okay? So, it's the right of the child, through you, the parent, to have them registered. So, and this registration is actually done by NERA. In other words, get this particular child a birth certificate, okay? After getting the birth certificate, NERA will guide you on any other thing that they will need. But please, get your children a birth certificate. That is the first form of registration. And this helps us keep track of population as, you know, we develop as a country.
Thank you so much, Maxwell. And our viewers and the people who are watching us, we implore you to keep typing your questions in the chat in case you have any question to do with child rights or parents' responsibilities under the law. In case you have any questions to do with anything, maintenance, parentage, you can feel free to type your questions in the chat and we shall respond to all your legal questions today. Yes, Maxwell, there has been a common thing. This is actually a common thing in Kampala. As someone who did some research in Kampala, this is one of the most common issues that you find around the streets, and that is parents failing to pay child maintenance. So,
first, guide us, what is maintenance?
First of all, maintenance is that financial payment that a parent is supposed to make sure that the child gets, be it for education, for their livelihood, for food, clothing, and everything. So,
Yes.
What do you think about such?
Definitely, one, maintenance is it's through an order of court, right?
Yes.
So now, I'm speaking to a particular group of people here, and I think I alluded to this earlier, that if you broke up maybe with the father or the mother of this child, yeah, the law requires the both of you still to provide for this particular child.
Yes.
But we've been dealing with situations where, you know, you have heard this saying of "Inze mama, inze tata." I am the mother of this child, I am the father of this child. And yet sometimes the father is still alive or the mother is still alive, okay? Now, this is the remedy to you, really. If you have a father of a child who is not providing for this child, and you know they are somewhere, okay, what you need to do is move court for a maintenance order. As my colleague Precious ably stated it, maintenance is that order that court gives you to put in some financial support for this kid, okay? In other words, we earlier stated that these kids have basic needs. They have rights that must be realized, okay? So if the kid requires school fees, you know the kid requires feeding, the kid requires clothes, medical attention if they are sick. All these are parental responsibilities. And if one parent is not performing that responsibility,
Yes.
then move court so that court can order them to start performing this responsibility.
Yes. In fact, to add on that, there is this misconception that people have had, especially men, that she is the mother of the child. She's going to take care of the child. Me, I'm going. I would like to implore all of you, and we continue to emphasize this, that the two parents all have the same responsibility to maintain their children. There is nothing like this is the mother and this is the
Father.
father. So like Maxwell explained, in case you have one person, a spouse that is not taking care of your children, you can apply to court. There is what we call a family and children court. The family and children court is that court that was put basically to hear matters concerning children. Like, matters concerning children are very sensitive matters. So there are courts that are designated to be heard for children. So you can apply to a family and children court and request for the maintenance. Court makes maintenance orders. So Maxwell, now that we are done with maintenance,
Maybe before we take leave of that particular, that particular topic, I think, court generally, or maybe before we go to court, I think there are other remedies that we could also employ.
Yes.
Right? Explore, sorry. And within our communities, we have the probation and social welfare officers, right? And these are people who are directly mandated under the law to see that the best interest of the child, welfare of the children are really taken care of. So maybe before you go to court, first try and engage with the probation and social welfare officers, to see and mediate over these cases. And also we have the family, the child and family desks at different police. That if court is now to hear this case, they don't have to take you back to the probation and social welfare officer. That, okay, maybe this is a matter that can be settled through maybe negotiations, but even the children's rights are not up for negotiation. Yes. But if they are disputes, then maybe you can try and mediate and solve your dispute without affecting the right of the child. Okay? So, and this is something that we have seen before. So if you're having these kinds of issues, explore these authorities, then you can also engage court.
That is so true. Mediation is highly encouraged because at the end of the day, you are protecting the well-being of the child and their mental health. So it is not good for a child to be exposed to the court environment at a young age. So we encourage you to always consider mediation in case you have issues to do with maintenance. Don't resemble them. Yes. What do you think about that?
This is a very sensitive and serious topic. So maybe before we engage, maybe before we move into that, from our producers, are we having any questions? Are we having any questions that we might need to respond to before we go into declaration of parentage?
Yes, because this is a serious topic.
Yes. Okay, as we wait for the questions from our amazing producers.
Yes, we do have some questions from the things you shared earlier. Someone is asking, can my child be a content creator? Should I read all of them at once? Or should...
I'll respond to that.
Okay, let me just read two, so you do two, then we can... Okay. Can my child be a content creator? Another one is asking, I was the head of the family when I was a child. Was that legal? Okay, so I think maybe this is in an instance where the child didn't have parents. Yeah, so let's start with those two.
Okay, from the second one, I was the head of the family when I was a child. Leaving aside other factors that might force you, as a firstborn child to take parental responsibilities, under the law, no child should ever be the head of the family. where there's a mother, where there's a father. It doesn't matter whether they are staying together or not. No child should ever be the head of the family. A child should remain a child in the family, okay? But we have seen circumstances where maybe a family loses both parents, and the firstborn child is required at that point to step up and look after the siblings. Yeah, these are factors that could be way beyond your control, and much as the law does not see that, it still does not take away the fact that no child should really be the head of the family. Yeah. Would you love to add something on that, Precious?
To add on that, I think, like Maxwell explained, really, no child should be ahead of the family. The roles and the structure of a family is clear.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think the parents are the heads of the families. But like he said, exceptional circumstances occur, and that would be socially understandable.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the second question is, can my child be a content creator? I think I mentioned this earlier, that the law does not prohibit a parent from supporting the talent of a child, okay? But if this content creation is going to expose the child to any form of harm, be it psychological, physical, mental, then you as a parent must step in and stop this kind of content creation. But if it's in promotion of talent and in your assessment, you see that no harm shall be done to this child, then really, there would be a problem.
Maybe the question would be, does it prejudice the child's other rights, like the right to education?
Then definitely it's a no.
Okay.
If this content creation is going to prejudice other rights of the child, okay, to education. We have seen children who are content creators 24/7. They don't know about the school calendar. And the parent is very comfortable. This, as a parent, you will be held responsible and liable for this, okay?
Because education is the main right.
Education should always come first. And if this content creation, as I said, exposes this child to any form of harm, okay, then as a parent, you should step in and stop it immediately.
And I think also the kind of content matters.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, because these days we have contents that would be, and within the ambits of the law, would be considered immoral. Exposing the children's body parts, privacy, and all this. Then, if that content creation violates any child, any right of the child, then definitely it's not a wise thing under the law.
Okay. We have 2 more questions. Someone asked, what if I don't have money to look after the child? Can I give them to... The next question is, what if I don't have money to look after my child? Can I give them away?
Wow. Give them away to who? Who then has the money to take care of the child?
Maybe the role of grandparents,
guardians.
And this is very common, Precious. Of, for the so-called planned kids who are having kids these days, they after giving birth, they take the kids to their grandparents. The question is, who has the primary responsibility to take care of children? It's you, the person who gave birth to this child. The excuse of I don't have money may really not save you under the law. So it's your primary responsibility as a parent to ensure that before you bring a child into this world, you have the financial ability to provide
when you
for this
brought
child.
the child in the world, you call them your band of joy. Yes, so the responsibility stays with you to take care of your children, except really in exceptional circumstances, maybe where guardianship can come in, but the primary responsibility stays with the parents.
If the court assesses and they're of the opinion that it's in the best interest of the child to be taken away from you, then, but you as a parent, you cannot give your child away. You cannot. Yeah, the law does not allow that. So if you're planning to have a child, you're planning to bring life into this world, then be prepared to provide for that child. Yes.
Okay, the last question we have here for now is what is my role as a stepfather in the life of my children? Someone on
Precious.
TikTok
I would
asked.
love you to answer this.
First of all, I think we explained what a parent is, and we clearly said that a parent is a biological parent of the child, that is someone that gave birth to that child, and an adoptive parent, that's someone that adopted that child. So I want to believe this stepfather has come in the life of the biological mother of the child. So, well, the major role of parenthood will obviously stay with the mother of the child because they are the biological parents of that child. However, I think as a stepfather that has come in the picture, you are seen as a parent. You are seen by that child as a parent, and your role is exactly like that of the mother of the child. However, legally, you are not entitled to play that parental role and do it, but because of the social circumstances that we stay in, we expect you as a stepfather to be an example to the child. That's all you are requested for, to be an example to the child, but legally you have no obligations to cater for that child.
Thank you. But
unless you adopt them, you can choose to say, I'm going to adopt this child as my own child. Yes.
Well explained, and thank you so much for that explanation. So, to the single fathers out there, this is a very interesting topic. To the single fathers outside there, please, you should know that if you enter into a relationship with someone who already has a child, yeah, the primary responsibility of that child is not on you if the father of that child is still alive.
Yes.
And we have seen situations where single fathers sometimes start preventing the real fathers of the children from even accessing
their children.
You as a single father here, you're breaching the law. And what you're doing could actually land you into problems with the law.
Yes.
So unless, as Precious said, you formally adopt this child, then you have no business preventing the real father of this child from accessing their child, having time with their child, even when you're still in relationship with their mother. Yeah. So primarily, and maybe to conclude on this particular case, stepfather's responsibilities of this stepchild of yours lies with the real father of the child. That's what the law says.
Yes, and even when you come into the life of that child, leave the child to exercise or enjoy their rights with their other parents, because they still have the rights to be catered for by the other parent. Yes, so I think, thank you so much for the first phase of the questions.
Yeah, that's okay. And if you're a stepfather outside there and you need further guidance on this matter, you can always reach out to us, and we guide you further.
As a stepfather.
No, as someone who knows the law regarding responsibilities and duties of stepfathers and real fathers of the child. Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Yes.
So before we went into questions, Maxwell, we wanted to start on a very sensitive topic, and that was declaration of parentage, because we have had instances where I would not want to make it gender-based, so I would say many people fail to care for their children because they think these are not their biological children. Yes, so how can that be solved under the law?
So, under the law, we usually have something called declaration of parentage, right?
Yes.
And but first things first, if a child is born,
yes,
and your name is on the birth certificate of that child, as the parent, as the father or the mother of that child, from that point straightforward, you have the responsibility to start taking care of that child. Now, if maybe you suspect that this particular child is not yours, then there are remedies under the law, okay? And one of the remedies under the law is that you can move court for court to order a DNA test to confirm if this child is yours or not. Therefore, but before that formal pronouncement or before the DNA results come out and it's submitted back to court, before court makes that order, you have the responsibility to keep providing for that child. So
Yes.
the suspicion that a child is not mine is not reason enough for you to stop doing your
So
responsibilities.
it doesn't take away your
It
responsibility.
doesn't take away your
under the law.
responsibility. Maybe because you suspect that, the child is not mine, maybe the child is from my neighbor, or the child is my, your wife was not faithful. That is not reason enough for you. Because if a child is born in a marriage, okay, the law presumes your parents, the married couple, are the parents of that particular child. Or even if you're not married, but within the birth certificate you stated as the father or the mother of that child, the law requires you to provide for that child. Unless court orders a DNA and the results come out negative and indicate that you are not the father of that child, then that's where your parental responsibilities end. But suspicion only is not sufficient for you to stop providing for that child.
Yes. And what would be your advice to a woman who comes to you and tells you that my husband is saying this is not his child? What can they do?
Yeah, as I told you, as we explained earlier, there are different authorities which you can approach for redress or for help. And within under the law, we say is he who alleges must prove. So if the husband is saying the child is not his, the obligation is on him to prove. Okay? Therefore, let him move court formally, ask for DNA, and for court to declare that he's not the parent of this child. We have seen this, and within our legal work as lawyers, we come across these kinds of scenarios almost on a daily, particularly for some of us lawyers who are practicing family law. Of a lady comes to you and she's saying, this man has said this child is not, maybe the feet of the child, maybe the fingers, maybe the ears, do not resemble, the feet or the ears of anyone from our family. Therefore, we are disowning this child. We cannot claim this child to be ours. That is not reason enough for you. So you, the father, if you think this child is not yours, then move court for a formal declaration.
Yes.
And that can only be done through DNA. And if you come up with these issues of the stories of the child is not mine, and you want to run away from your obligation, then the law will catch up with you. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. And what I would really like to add is that even you as a mother, whom the father is like denying to be the parent of that child, you can also move court and prove to court that this person is refusing fatherhood of the child, but I have proof to show that this is the father of the child. And even if the father does not want to appear to court, court has all the powers to issue an order for a DNA to be conducted or that person to be brought before court.
Yes.
Yes. So, yes.
Yeah, someone in the chat is asking, what if the child doesn't want the DNA? Child doesn't want the DNA. The child doesn't want to be subjected to a DNA test.
Save the DNA. So the thing is this, and as we stated earlier, right, that parental responsibilities accrue from the time a child is born, right? So if there's a dispute over the fatherhood of this particular child, then it's court. And when court is making these orders, the consent of the child is not required.
Yes.
The consent of the child is not required. So you as a child who is subject to this dispute, you cannot say, I don't want to be tested. No, you will have to be tested for this issue to be resolved.
Because even you as a child, you would want to know who your real parents are.
Exactly. It's in their best interest.
You can demand responsibility from them.
Definitely.
Yes.
The word is demand responsibility.
Yes.
Thank you. But you as a child, the consent is not within your powers.
Okay.
Yeah. Any further questions
Yes.
from our producers?
Yes. There's someone in the chat who has said if we grew up as a family and we the children don't want to. I think maybe they're referring to DNA. But there's someone else who is saying, does the court show a father does the court allow a father to abandon parental responsibilities after a mother gets a stepdad?
Yes, I'll leave this to you.
I think I will speak it again and again that parental responsibility is inherent. You cannot do away with it.
Exactly.
The fact that you gave birth to a child, that responsibility stays till the end. So there is no way you can say that I am going to abandon my parental responsibilities.
Even when you are not together.
Yes, you don't
Even
have
when
to
you're
be
not
together.
You don't have to be together.
Yeah.
So maybe for purposes of clarity, just one more time, right? So, party, okay, let me not use party. You cohabited with someone, you conceived a child, then maybe you broke up. This person moved on, got another man, married her, and they are living together. Now they are married, but you have a child
Yes.
with that particular person. Yeah. The fact that they are not married, the fact that they are married, does not take away your responsibility as the father
parent, yes.
of this child.
Yes.
You get it? The man who married this lady here, who is the mother to your child, does not have the primary responsibility over this child.
Yes.
Okay? And he does not also have powers to prevent this child from accessing you, the real father of this child. Okay? So, unless through a formal court adoption process, you as the parent of this child, you must continue to play your responsibility. You as the father of this child, you must continue to play your responsibility. Yes. I think this sets the record straight.
There is no resting. When you give birth, the parental responsibility stays. And yes, producer.
Someone is asking, what does the court do about me as a child to follow up with my new family? I think maybe in instances where they find that the child is not the child of whoever requested for parentage, does the court follow up so that the child finds their actual parent?
Yeah, usually this comes in forms of court orders. Yeah, this usually comes in form of court orders. That if a DNA is done through a court order, and it comes out that the father is not the person who was being called your father is actually not your father, then first things first, he's exonerated of his parental responsibilities.
Yes.
Now, secondly, if the issues before court now, okay, are for you also to find your exact father, then through a court order, of course, this now also depends on the circumstances. Then court can make an order for your mother to actually reveal who your actual father is.
Yes.
Okay, all these are done through court orders, and court can actually, stretch that far and put your mother under obligation to produce who your father is or reveal to you as the child who your real parents are. But this depends entirely on the case you put before court. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
There's another question. My parents refused to give me property, but they gave our firstborn a house. They are still alive. Can I sue them?
So how was this property given? Is it in form of a will? How a gift?
Yes.
You cannot sue them. Unfortunately, you cannot sue them.
Actually, we may have listed all the rights that accrue to children, but the right to receive property from your parents is not one of them.
It's not one of them.
Unfortunately, you have a right to be maintained, taken care of until you reach 18, but the right to be given property does not apply until your parents pass on.
Yeah. So unfortunately, if your parents choose to give one of your siblings maybe a property and you don't receive a share of it, you don't have a recourse in law, really. It's within their mandate. It's within their mercy at this point.
Yes, Maxwell, before we go ahead, there is this one concern that I have always got children asking that what if my parent passes on and maybe they made a will, my parent passed on with a will, but in that will they didn't provide for the maintenance of us as children below 17 years. Is there any other remedy for them?
Yes, there's a remedy. There's a remedy, and we've seen these situations several times. Maybe what Precious is saying is this: your parents have passed on, you're a child, you're below 18, and you're nowhere in the will. Okay? The parents have not indicated how your education, your medical bills shall be paid. Okay? What you should do is to move court. If your parents have a big estate, because we know these days people have rentals, people have cars that are plying different roads, generating money. So in other words, if your parents left behind assets that can generate income, then you can move court, and court will make an order for maintenance from the estate of your parents. So yes, yeah, you can. There's a remedy for you under the law.
I think that shows us how important or crucial the right of a child to receive their maintenance is.
Yes.
Because even in a circumstance where your parents pass on, you are still entitled to your maintenance as a child. Yes.
Yes.
So
now maybe Precious, just one more question here. Yeah, and it's still in regards to DNAs.
Yes.
So assuming I've always believed that this child is mine from birth, and the child is now 16. But then we do a DNA when the child is 16, and we realize that this child is not mine. Okay? Is it within the law that I should be compensated for the time, for the resources, for the money and everything I used to take care of this child? So yeah, you can proceed.
Thank you for the question. And I was also actually glad and happy when I saw that law. It is actually within the law that if you are a man and maybe you have taken care of the child for 16 years and a declaration of parentage is made and you realize you are not the father of this child, you can actually seek compensation from the mother of the child or from the father of the child for the money that you spent on this child for all those years. So I think that is a good practice.
Okay. Yes. So we have a question. Yes, Mr. Producer.
So now, let's say I was involved. It didn't happen, but I was involved with a baby mama. Now, there's a question. If I got a child from a certain woman, but I don't want to live with her, and she forcefully abandons a child, what can I do?
Say that again. I've not.
Repeat the question.
Repeat the question.
Auntie, now, if I have a child from a certain woman, but I don't want to live with her, I don't live with the woman, and she forcefully abandons the child with me, what can I do?
I think that goes back to the best interests of the child, because we are saying that whatsoever circumstance that you are in, we are considering the well-being of the child. And in that circumstance, the husband or both the parents are mandated to take care of that child. And I think since in that circumstance, it is the husband now with the custody of the child. So what we expect from the other parent is to also fulfill their responsibility to maintain the child in such a scenario.
So maybe just for more emphasis on this, you see, bringing a child into this world is not something that, you should do it out of recklessness. Raising a responsible child takes, effort from both parents, both the mother and the father. So by the time you chose to have a child, first of all, how do you choose to have a child with someone you really don't want to stay with? And this is the recklessness that I'm talking about.
Mm.
You know, by the time you choose to have a child with someone, you should be ready at that particular point
To take
to
care
take care of the child, you know, both of you. Therefore, you cannot say that I want to have a child with you, but I don't want to stay with you. Because see now the situation this has led to, right? You are all violating a child's right just because you don't want to stay with the mother. But this goes back to what Precious says. It's the duty of both parents to take care of the child. And it's the right of the child to be taken care of by both parents. I hope we are together on this. So, what is the best interest of the child at this particular point? And I would advise that you sit down with this person and you iron out these issues. Because if a child is also that young yet, it's in their best interest to actually live with the parents because they need breastfeeding, you know, the motherly love and all this. Yeah. Therefore, but that does not take away your responsibility as a father to provide for this child also. Okay. So, one, sit down and try and have a mediation with the mother of this child. Because we have seen this, you know, people abandoning children here and there. Both of you are violating the right of that child at this particular point.
Yes.
So if that is the situation that you're faced with at this particular moment, try and iron it out. Because if it goes to the law, they will not ask you whether you wanted to stay with the mother or not. They will ask you about the best interest of the child and the rights of the child. And this could land you into problems.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Producer, do you have any more questions?
Ask my own.
Yes, you can ask your own. It's okay.
Now, still on this baby mama thing. Now, I remember you said earlier that I can't chase away the baby daddy's the baby mama's father. The father, I can't chase away the father. I have to adopt the child. So when I adopt the child, the father is no longer in the picture.
You see, adoption itself is another process. First of all, are you able to demonstrate to court that this adoption process is actually in the best interest of the child? Because if the child has a father out there and he's a responsible person, is providing for the child, what business do you have adopting his child?
In other words, you can't just come and say,
you can't
I'm
just
taking
say,
over your child since I've also taken over your wife.
I don't want him in the picture.
You cannot say it's not within your right to say, I don't want you in the picture of your child, so I'm taking over your child. No, the law does not work like that.
Yes.
Unfortunately, their court will have to chase you out.
Okay. Someone also asked,
Yes.
what about parents of children with disabilities?
Okay.
How do they handle such situations?
Do you want to answer that, Precious?
You can.
I don't know which situations
Which
in particular they are
situations?
meaning.
I think they meant parental responsibility. Can they give it to someone? Do they have to stay with their child?
You see, and maybe one time one day we shall find time and talk about, you know, some of these issues.
Yes.
Yeah. Just because your child has a disability, it's not a ground for you to give them out. First of all, giving out a child, whether the child has a disability or not, is unlawful. That is not allowed.
A child is a child.
Okay? A child is a child,
no,
whether they are disabled or not, you have no reason to give them out. And we have seen really people who have come into communities they have opened up shelters, you know, and they say you can bring your disabled, your children with disability to these shelters. We shall take care of them. You, the owner of that shelter, you yourself, you're breaching the law. If you want to help a child or a parent who has a child with a disability, you can help them when the child is with them. Okay? You do not have the right to take the child away from them. So I think this answers the question, yes.
Okay. Someone on TikTok is asking, if a mother doesn't know the owner of the child, what happens?
I'm confused. What do they mean by the mother doesn't know the owner of the child?
Maybe a situation where possibly could have been.
First of all, as a mother, you're the owner of the child.
No, they don't know
Father.
the father.
They don't know the father of the child.
The parental responsibility stays with them.
with you entirely.
Yes, till they discover who the father of the
Yeah.
child is.
I think you should say that again, maybe for clarity.
Yes, for clarity, and our time is actually fast spent. We would want to emphasize that parental responsibility is inherent. That means that at one point it does not cease. You
Yeah.
continue to be a parent of that child, and you are liable under the law to continue caring for that child. Yes.
So if you don't know who the father of the child is, the role of the father
It's
entirely
on
comes
you.
now on you.
Yes.
Someone is asking TikTok. Hanava Joshua on TikTok is asking, what if the child was changed from the hospital?
What if the child was changed from the hospital? If you have proof, then you can sue the hospital.
Yes.
Yeah. Sue the hospital for that.
Okay. Last question. Can a child own property? And if they can own the property, can I sell that property because they are my child?
Thank you so much. Just like any other person, a child can own property in Uganda. However, a child, we know that children under the law of Uganda are not capable to contract or do anything. So for a child to own property, they own it through a guardian. Yes. So that means that you are, as a mother or as a father of the child, because I want to believe this is property that maybe has a certificate of title attached to it.
Yeah.
Yes. So you are put on the title as the guardian of that child. Yes.
Definitely. And in case you want to do anything to deal in property, in this particular property, then you'll need to move court for an order. In case you want to sell it, then you need to move court to get a court order, and that should be in the best interest of the child. The selling of this property should be in the interest of the child. You cannot say, I'm going to sell this property to buy myself a Range Rover, and yet this child is in need of a school fees. So the court will weigh and
the options and
yeah.
decide. Yes, Maxwell, thank you so much. Our time is fast spent. We applaud you all for watching this live and being available to learn and hear from us. I continue to implore you to look out for Barefoot Law, because we are a non-profit organization that offers legal information and guidance for free. And you also have the capacity to call, engage us on our social media platforms on X, YouTube, WhatsApp, all those platforms, and engage us and speak to a lawyer for free. And on that same note, I'll read to you our numbers. We have a toll-free number that is 0800 22 0000. That's at our toll-free line, or you can call us on our alternative number, which is 0392 177 400. Yes, producer, repeat the numbers for emphasis. Yes, and someone will type them in the chat. I implore you to look into the chat and see the numbers, and you can reach out to us at any point if you want to understand anything legal at any time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Precious, and we hope to engage with you further.
Okay, we have what we call a katalekeka. This person has shared their question 2 times in the chat, so we'll ask it. Lynette is asking, there's a man who abandoned the child and their mom for 5 years. The mother found another partner and got wedded. Can the father of the child come and claim the child again?
Because like we said and we continue to repeat, they are still the father of that child. So they have the right to be with their child. They can claim the child. But like we said, we implore you to always consider mediation for such matters, so that you can agree, and that would be something that is in the best interest of the child.
But also, maybe just to, to protect your interest as the mother of this child, because looking at a situation where someone abandons their child for 5 years, and they want to come back and start claiming this child, I think what you can do in this particular case is move court for a custody order, so that court can grant you custody of this particular child, and maybe the other parent can have visiting rights, or you can work out an arrangement. But when the child is primarily staying with you, I think this would
Thank you so
help in the
much,
situation.
Maxwell.
Thank you.
And as we wind up, I would like to inform you that yes, Barefoot Law also has physical offices, and our physical location is in Kampala, Ntinda, Ministers Village, Plot 1, Muafu Close. And we also have boxes. Maxwell, could you talk about the boxes?
Yes, these are actually regional offices, and we are in Gulu, in Paicho. You can walk in and you'll get connected virtually to a lawyer, and you can consult a lawyer on any issue, and it's going to be free of charge. We also have offices in Namutumba, that's in Busoga. We have a new beautiful office in Ngora district, that's in Teso, and we also have another office in Kole, that's in Lao. All these offices, walk into them, ask to talk to a lawyer, and they'll connect you to a lawyer, and it's totally free of charge.
Yes.
Thank you. We hope to engage with you further on our different social media platforms, and you can also maybe sometime pay us a visit. Thank you.
Thank you.